Where have we seen Rancor riding before? What's up with that brain spider? Your burning Book of Boba Fett questions answered as we explore the show's many Easter eggs. During Boba's lesson on Rancors with Danny Trejo's character in Episode 3, it's mentioned that the witches of Dathomir used to ride Rancors, which are actually native to the Outer Rim planet. The reference is likely a nod to the Night Sisters of Dathomir, who were featured prominently in the Star Wars animated series The Clone Wars. In both canon and Legends lore, the Night Sisters and Witches of Dathomir were lethal female warriors who shunned much of technology in favor of tapping into and wielding the planet's natural channels of dark magic. They first appeared in The Courtship of Princess Leia in 1994, which is now a non-canon Legends novel. The most famous Night Sister is Asajj Ventress, who has spent time as a Jedi Padawan, a Sith assassin, and a bounty hunter. In the season finale, Boba Fett triumphantly rides in atop his pet Rancor to save the day from the Pike Syndicate. It's a callback to the Witches of Dathomir, but it's also a nod to another Star Wars character who was recently revealed as Boba Fett's clone sister. In The Bad Batch Season 1, we learn that Boba, whose clone name is Alpha, has a clone sister named Omega. In Episode 5, the group takes a mission to retrieve a young Rancor, which Omega ends up bonding with and riding, just like a much older Boba does in Book of Boba Fett. The third episode of the Book of Boba Fett has a couple of fun nods to 1983's Return of the Jedi. First, immediately after the title card in Chapter 3, the show cuts to a nighttime scene of a wart outside Boba's palace. Using its tongue, the giant frog-like creature quickly snags a womp rat and bird at the same time. This scene is remarkably similar to the one in Return of the Jedi, an exterior shot of Jabba's palace with the twin sons of Tatooine sitting in the background and a wart snagging his dinner with his long, sticky tongue. The other Return of the Jedi nod is a blink and you'll miss it moment when one of the youth bikers crashes into a painting being carried out of a building and rips it in half. Pause the episode at that moment and you'll get a better glimpse of what the painting is. Jabba the Hutt on his throne, surrounded by his old lackeys. The painting is actually an in-universe version of Star Wars artist Ralph McQuarrie's original work. In Episode 3, Boba's cyberpunk youth biker gang goes on a high-speed chase through the streets of Mos Espa to catch the mayor's major domo. But while the chase and reveal of the mayor's involvement with the Pikes drives the Book of Boba Fett's story forward, the speeder bike crash also features a subtle but sweet callback to Star Wars Rebels. When the major domo crashes, his land speeder slams into several crates of a reddish-orange fruit called a Meilooruns. This fruit was a key ingredient in early episodes of Rebels and were later established as General Hera Syndulla's favorite. And one of Zeb's and Ezra's first missions together in Rebels includes them being sent to find the fruits on Lothal, where Meilooruns don't grow. The Book of Boba Fett Chapter 4 had a fun cameo for music fans as bass guitarist and singer-songwriter Stephen Thundercat Bruner appeared as the modification artist known simply as Modifier. Thundercat's character seems like the go-to man for the job of modifying your body with sleek droid parts, and his handiwork appears to be very popular among the youth of Tatooine. In the Gathering Storm, Modifier is the one who works on Fennec and gives her mechanical parts in her stomach to save her life. He also sports a cool battle droid hand that he can switch out with different tools depending on the job he's doing. One of the most exciting returns in the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 5, is the N1 starfighter, also called the Naboo starfighter. These sleek gold and silver ships were constructed for defense and security and were used as escort crafts for the Queen of Naboo during the prequel era. The N1 starfighter was most famously seen in Star Wars The Phantom Menace as an attack craft during the Trade Federation's invasion of Naboo. A young Anakin Skywalker flies an N1 starfighter during the battle and helps destroy a droid control ship to help the Naboo to victory. In Return of the Mandalorian, Din Djarin helps Pelimoto fix up an N1 starfighter as a replacement for his destroyed Razor Crest. At first he calls it a pile of junk, but he learns during a test flight that the decades-old ship still packs quite a punch. While Tatooine might seem like a barren wasteland that any farm boy would be happy to escape from, the planet was a bit of a cultural hub when it came to pod racing. In The Phantom Menace, a young Anakin flies through the dunes and caverns of Tatooine to victory in the Boonta Eve Classic. One of the most dangerous sections of the Boonta Eve Classic pod racing track was Beggar's Canyon, a dry riverbed that included winding stretches and tight turns around towering desert rock formations. In the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5, Mandalorian Din Djarin takes his refurbished N1 starfighter for a test flight through Beggar's Canyon. There's even a shot of a womp rat resting on a rock before the starfighter speeds through the area, a nod to Luke Skywalker's quote about how he used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home. Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett also features a return cameo by New Republic Captain Krrsantan, played by Paul Sun-Hyung Lee. Captain Teva appeared in 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, The Passenger and The Siege, and famously saved Din Djarin, Grogu, and the Frog Lady from certain death at the hands of giant ice spiders. In Return of the Mandalorian, Captain Teva and another New Republic officer pull over Din's N1 starfighter for speeding too close to a commercial ship. The 3 men can't see each other through their ships, but Captain Teva recognizes Din's voice and tries to ask him some questions about reported Imperial remnants on the planet Navarro. Din then flees law enforcement and heads back to Tatooine and Pelimoto's Mos Eisley body shop. When Din Djarin visits Pelimoto's shop, we get a look at the plethora of droids she employs to help her fix up starships. Besides a BD droid straight out of Jedi Fallen Order, eagle-eyed Star Wars fans will see the return of an astromech droid that is pivotal in Luke Skywalker getting R2-D2 and C-3PO from the Jawas in the very first Star Wars film. R5-D4 is seen rolling through Pelly's shop, still sporting the hole in his top where his busted motivator exploded right after Luke and Uncle Owen bought the droid in A New Hope. However, the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5 isn't R5's first reappearance since the Empire fell. The droid was also seen at Chalmun's spaceport cantina when Din arrived searching for work, and later at the Mos Eisley spaceport after Pelly acquired the droid. The 6th episode of the Book of Boba Fett spends a lot of time with Grogu and Luke Skywalker, who is training the little green guy in the ways of the Force as part of his efforts to rebuild the Jedi Order. Another part of those efforts seems to be building a new Jedi Temple, which a bunch of ant droids are seen doing in this episode. By the end of the episode, the first part of the new temple is complete, and it looks a bit like the more developed temple that is seen being destroyed in Luke's flashback in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Presumably, those androids stayed busy after Grogu left. Since the 6th episode largely covers Grogu's Jedi training, it's not surprising that the scenes were chock full of callbacks to Luke's time training with Yoda on Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back. Luke is now the master, and it's touching to see him use the same lessons, phrases, and physical maneuvers to show Grogu his potential in wielding the Force. Luke even brings back some of Yoda's famous phrases like "size matters not" and a tweaked version of "do or do not, there is no try." In another scene, Luke wears Grogu in a backpack and runs, leaps, and flips through the bamboo forest before climbing up a stalk to show Grogu how beautiful and vast this planet and the whole galaxy can be. This quick-paced scene is a direct nod to Luke doing the same thing with Yoda on his back. In the Book of Boba Fett Episode 7, the season finale, a new type of battle droid is introduced, the Scorpineck droid. The Pike Syndicate unleashes 2 of these huge and deadly droids on Boba Fett's crew while they try to fight off the Pikes and protect Mos Espa. Luckily, Boba has a Rancor and a little green Force sensitive who can help him take down these droids and win the war for Boba Fett and crew. In the Star Wars Legends continuity, Scorpineck droids were used by the Separatists during the Clone Wars, along with the familiar Droidekas. Both types of droids had rapid-fire laser cannons and deployed nearly impenetrable deflector shields. The Scorpineck droid was first mentioned in the book The New Essential Guide to Droids, and its concept art appears to be an early form of what would become the Droideka in Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Boba Fett and Cad Bane have a long history dating back to the prequel era, and the latter learned the bounty hunting ways from the former's father, Jango Fett. The 2 bounty hunters have had a tolerate-hate relationship for decades, and they reunite in the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 7. Boba is working for himself and his people, and Bane is being paid by the Pikes to enforce the flow of spice in the area. This leads to a battle between the 2 parties and an epic duel between Boba and Bane. The duel ends in Boba's favor, with him stabbing Bane with his Tusken gaffy stick. Interestingly, the clash echoes the one from an unfinished episode of The Clone Wars. In the unaired arc, the duel between the 2 bounty hunters shows them squaring off on Tatooine and shooting each other. The unfinished scene shows how Boba got the circular dent in his helmet, which is still there even after being repainted. Though it wasn't clear in the unfinished episode, Bane appears in the Bad Batch with a metal plate on his head, hinting that Boba shot him in the head during the duel. In the Book of Boba Fett season finale, the metal plate is shown again when Bane's hat is knocked off, all but confirming the unfinished episode is part of the canon. Before their final duel in Chapter 7, Boba Fett and Cad Bane trade barbs in a nod to their fraught history over the decades. At one point, Bane says,
"If that's not the quactor calling the stifling slimy."
That's basically the Star Wars version of the pot calling the kettle black, and it's not the first time we've heard this phrase in a Star Wars television series. In The Mandalorian Season 2 finale, Din and Boba meet with Bo-Katan Kryze and Casca Reeves to enlist their help in rescuing Grogu from the Imperial clutches of Moff Gideon. With all four of them being Mandalorians in some way, they all have different views on the way Mandalorians should act. As such, the two women don't like Boba, and he doesn't like them. While trading barbs before their weapons come out, Casca says, "I didn't know sidekicks were allowed to talk." Boba responds by saying, "Well, if that isn't the quacta calling the stifling slimy." Boba's remark is meant to poke at Casca's place as Bo-Katan's sidekick, but it seems the phrase is pretty popular among bounty hunters. With the conclusion of Season 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, the clone and ex-bounty hunter is now the godfather of Tatooine. Fittingly, in the season finale, there are two key callbacks to the Godfather films. The first comes when Boba sends the former mayor's Twi'lek majordomo out to share his terms of surrender with the Pikes. The majordomo reads Boba's words on his tablet, telling the Pikes he offers them nothing. This speech echoes the one by Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 2.
You can have my answer now if you like. My offer is this. Nothing.
And in the end of the episode, after Boba and his crew win the battle and restore peace, he and Fennec walk the streets of Mos Espa. One citizen comes up to Boba and offers him a Meilooruns fruit, which Boba gives to Krrsantan. This moment is a subtle nod to Don Corleone receiving gifts of fruit from those he ruled over in The Godfather 2, but in filming style, it's arguably more reminiscent of The Simpsons parody of The Godfather 2.
Don Homer, I have baked a special donut just for you.
Grazie.
Since the premiere of Return of the Jedi in 1983, fans have been wondering if and how Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit. In the retconned Star Wars Legends continuity, Boba escapes the pit using his jetpack, as seen in the 1983 comic Star Wars number 81 titled Jawas of Doom. And in the 1996 story, A Barv Like That, Boba also escapes the Sarlacc via his jetpack, this time by telepathically communicating with another victim inside the beast and tricking the creature into launching his weapon. Boba's canonical escape from the Sarlacc in Episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett is similar to the Legends one, but in the Book of Boba Fett, the iconic bounty hunter unleashes a flamethrower on his wrist gauntlet to burn the creature from the inside and claw his way up through the deep sandy pit. Blink and you'll miss the wreckage of Jabba the Hutt's iconic sailing barge, the Katana, in the scene of Boba Fett emerging from the Sarlacc pit in Episode 1. In the original trilogy's finale film, the chaotic fighting and the epic death of Jabba at the hands of Leia also resulted in the destruction of the Katana. Destroyed beyond repair and no longer with the captain, it was left to rot on the sands above the pit of Carkoon. In the Book of Boba Fett, the remains of the destroyed barge can be seen behind Boba at the edge of the pit as he claws his way to the surface and collapses on the sand. We're sure the katana has been picked clean of any valuables over the years by some Jawas, just as they do to an unconscious Boba in the first episode. The mysterious spider droid carrying a fishbowl of orange-red liquid is actually a member of the ancient Bomar Order, a religious sect whose members transplanted their brains into these bowls and used the spider droids to move about in order to focus all sensation and attention on their minds. A Bomar Order spider droid first appeared in Return of the Jedi in 1983 in a short scene that shows one of them walking by an open door in Jabba's palace. According to Star Wars lore, these monks were the original owners of the palace in Mos Espa until Jabba took over. In the Book of Boba Fett, it appears there are still some members of the Bomar Order left on Tatooine, as the opening scene of Episode 3 shows a spider droid scuttling past the exterior of the palace. Are these the droids you're looking for? In the Book of Boba Fett's first episode, two droids in particular stood out, HD-8 and R3X, aka Rex. 8D-8 is a humanoid-esque smelter droid that was last seen as a torturer in Return of the Jedi. In the Book of Boba Fett, 8D-8 is now a butler of sorts, helping introduce the Callers coming to greet and pay tribute to Tatooine's new crime lord. The droid's mention of tortured screams of the Gamorrean guards he drags in is a subtle nod to his previous sadistic role for Jabba. Those 2 Gamorrean guards are also very likely the same ones who served Jabba in Return of the Jedi.
These 2 Gamorreans were once bodyguards to Jabba the Hutt and later Bith Fortuna. They did not surrender even after their patron was killed.
The other recognizable droid, R3X, is lifted from Disney's theme parks, in particular Galaxy's Edge at Disney World and Disneyland. R3X had a long history as the fun pilot of Star Tours, but most recently took another gig as a DJ at Oga's Cantina in Black Spire Outpost. In the Book of Boba Fett, R3X is seen playing a dealer at the Mos Espa Casino. A Tatooine cantina wouldn't be the same without the planet's most famous tunes. Luckily, the Book of Boba Fett brings back 2 of the galaxy's most famous musicians for a hefty dose of nostalgia. Inside the Mos Espa venue, patrons are imbibing and betting while a funky remix of the classic Cantina Band song is played by none other than Max Rebo and Krrsantan. Max Rebo is a blue-skinned elephant-like creature who is understandably presumed dead after last being seen on Jabba's sailing barge, but it looks like he's alive and well alongside Krrsantan. The Bith musician, a former member of the popular band Krrsantan and the Modal Nodes, played Cantina Band in the iconic scene in Mos Eisley in A New Hope. Though he's without his other band members and in a new town, Krrsantan seems to be doing just fine playing tunes at the Mos Espa Cantina with Max Rebo. Boba Fett may be down and out during his imprisonment by the Tusken Raiders, but he still knows how to kill a foe like the best of them. When he and a fellow prisoner, a Rodian, dig for black melons in the Tatooine desert in Episode 1, the Rodian awakens a multi-armed scaly beast that attacks them, and the young Tusken Raider therewith. The Goro-like creature quickly kills the Rodian and goes after Boba and the Tusken Raider next, but Boba uses his shackles and chain to his advantage. In a move straight out of Return of the Jedi, Boba swings the chain around the beast's neck and pulls tight, strangling it until it falls. He stands triumphantly atop the creature, holding his chains and glowering at the Tusken Raider. It's a moment where Boba earns some respect from his captors, but also one eerily similar to the way Princess Leia killed Jabba the Hutt by strangling him with her chains. Showrunner and director Robert Rodriguez has a key cameo in the series premiere, Stranger in a Strange Land. Rodriguez portrays Doak Strassi, the leader of the Trandoshan family who works under Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. In the first episode, Doak Strassi greets Boba and gives him a tribute in the form of Wookiee pelt. During the exchange, Boba remarks on the awkwardness of the situation, since he had worked for the Trandoshan at one point in his bounty hunting career, and now Doak Strassi serves him. As Doak Strassi leaves the throne room of now Boba's palace, he tells him, "May you never leave Mos Espa."
Even when a Trandoshan pays you a compliment, it sounds like a threat.
One of the most jaw-dropping moments in the Book of Boba Fett is the surprise live-action introduction of Wookiee gladiator Black Krrsantan in Episode 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. Star Wars comics fans know the towering all-black Wookiee gladiator and bounty hunter Black Krrsantan from when he was introduced in 2015 in Marvel's Darth Vader series. Black Krrsantan, also known as Santi, BK, and Black K, is also a fan-favorite character in the Dr. Aphra comics. In the lore shown in the comics, Black Krrsantan was taken from his homeworld of Kashyyyk and trained to be a gladiator in fighting pits. Black Krrsantan eventually becomes a bounty hunter and works for Jabba, and at one point works alongside Boba Fett. It's likely Mos Espa's new boss knows exactly what the ruthless Wookiee is capable of when they reunite in Episode 2. It might be a little late for Luke Skywalker to snag some power converters, but it wasn't too late for Star Wars to reveal Tosche Station and show what the Jedi's childhood best friends are up to.
Take these 2 over to the garage, will you? I want them cleaned up before dinner.
But I was going into Tosche Station to pick up some power converters.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
While Boba Fett brings an epic beatdown to the local menacing swoop bike gang in Episode 2, 2 humans are cowering and trying to avoid the mayhem. These 2 humans, a man and a woman, are never named in the episode, but they are most certainly Luke's friends, Cammy and Fixer, and this small cantina is Tosche Station. The brief shots of the building's exterior and interior architecture show details that match the deleted scene of Tosche Station from the first Star Wars movie in 1977. Per those original details from the original film, Cammy and Fixer were around Luke's age and hung out often at Tosche Station. Cammy is also referenced in The Last Jedi novel when Luke dreams about what his life would have been like if he never left Tatooine and married Cammy instead. Though their appearances are brief, the Cammy and Fixer cameos are a fun, subtle nod to original Star Wars details that ended up on the cutting room floor. Being such a Star Wars fan, it's no surprise that executive producer Robert Rodriguez has made more than one cameo in the show. In Episode 2, that comes in the form of Mos Espa's Ithorian mayor, who may or may not have hired an assassin to take out or test Boba Fett. In Episode 1, the mayor's major domo appears in Boba's new court as a representative of the mayor's office. Both Boba and Fennec Shand feel insulted by the mayor not coming himself. But in Episode 2, the two groups finally meet. The mayor is Mok Shaiz, an Ithorian who communicates via a translator headpiece, aka the voice of Rodriguez.
Is that so? I've heard otherwise.
The mayor rebuffs Boba's and Fennec's allegations that he sent an assassin after him and even thanks Boba for bringing in the assassin for punishment. He's quickly executed. Besides handing Boba and Fennec a sack of coins, Mayor Mok Shaiz offers his tribute of advice about running a family and tells him to see Madame Garsa Fwip for the latest news about his position on Mos Espa. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Star Wars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.